Hi.
Hello again. We're revisiting chapter 2 of Daniel this time, but with a different purpose. Last time we went through it trying to figure out what were the divine designations that both Nebuchadnezzar and especially Daniel use in public. This time we're going through it with the purpose of figuring out not divine designations, but rather human authority. What does this chapter say about human authority and the credentials of wise men? So we wanted to read select portions starting at the beginning of the chapter, and if we leave out the vision portions, it will be because we're assuming a certain familiarity by now with the dream itself and its interpretation.
All right. So I'm going to start Daniel 2 verse 2 and read down to 13. So the king said, sorry. So the king said to call the magic practicing priests, the conjurers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, to tell the king his dreams. And they proceeded to come in and to stand before the king. Then the king said to them, "There is a dream that I have dreamed, and my spirit is agitated to know the dream." At that the Chaldeans spoke to the king in the Aramaic language. "O king, live on, even for times indefinite. Say what the dream is to your servants, and we shall show the very interpretation." The king was answering and saying to the Chaldeans, "The word is being promulgated by me. If you men do not make the dream known to me and its interpretation, dismembered is what you will be, and into public privies your own houses will be turned. But if the dream and its interpretation you will show, gifts and a present and much dignity you will receive on my part. Therefore show me the very dream and its interpretation." They answered a second time and were saying, "Let the king say what the dream is to his servants, and we shall show its very interpretation." The king was answering and saying, "For a fact, I am aware that time is what you men are trying to gain, forasmuch as you have perceived that the word is being promulgated by me. For if you do not make known to me the very dream, this one and only sentence is upon you. But it is a lying and wrong word that you have agreed to say before me, until the time itself is changed. Therefore tell me the very dream, and I shall know that you can show the very interpretation of it." The Chaldeans answered before the king, and they were saying, "There does not exist a man on the dry land that is able to show the matter to the king, of the king, forasmuch as no grand king or governor has asked such a thing as this of any magic practicing priest or conjurer or Chaldean. But the thing that the king himself is asking is difficult, and nobody else exists who can show it before the king, except the gods, whose own dwelling does not exist with flesh at all." Because of this, the king himself became angry and got very furious, and he said to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the order itself went out, and the wise men were about to be killed, and they looked for Daniel and his companions, for them to be killed. And then we're going to go down to verse 19, and we'll read 19 to 23. Then it was that to Daniel, in a night vision, the secret was revealed. Consequently, Daniel himself blessed the God of heaven. Daniel was answering and saying, "Let the name of God become blessed from time indefinite even to time indefinite, for wisdom and mightiness, for they belong to him. And he is changing times and seasons, removing kings and setting up kings, giving wisdom to the wise ones and knowledge to those knowing discernment. He is revealing the deep things and the concealed things, knowing what is in the darkness, and with him the light does dwell. To you, O God of my forefathers, I am giving praise and commendation, because wisdom and mightiness you have given to me. And now you have made known to me what we requested of you. For you have made known to us the very matter of the king. And then we were going to drop down to the second part of chapter 26.
Verse 26?
Verse 26, middle of 26 to 30. Okay. Are you competent enough to make known to me the dream that I beheld and its interpretation? Daniel was answering before the king and saying, the secret that the king himself is asking, the wise men, the conjurers, the magic practicing priests, and the astrologers themselves are unable to show to the king. However, there exists a God in the heavens who is a revealer of secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what is to occur in the final part of the days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed, this it is. As for you, O king, on your bed, your own thoughts came up as regards what is to occur after this, and the one who is the revealer of secrets has made known to you what is to occur. And as for me, it is not through any wisdom that exists in me more than in any others alive that this secret is revealed to me, except to the intent that the interpretation may be made known to the king himself, and that the thoughts of your heart may be known.
So again, we're remarking upon the titles he uses when Daniel is interpreting or beginning to interpret the dream for Nebuchadnezzar. He calls God a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, and then also in the New American Standard Version, he who reveals mysteries. So if we take that back to the beginning, we can see why it is so appropriate that Daniel uses these specific titles for this God whom he knows that Nebuchadnezzar and the wise men of Babylon do not know, because their claim is what we would call occultism. Their claim is that they have the secrets that are hidden from other men, and their professional status depends upon this superior wisdom they have to the common men. So when we see Daniel at the beginning of the chapter, when we see Nebuchadnezzar has had the dream and he's seriously disturbed about it, and of course he wants solution right away to put his mind at rest about what this could mean, and he calls the wise men of Babylon, and notice they're actually identified in categories in verse 2. Magicians, conjurers, sorcerers, Chaldeans. So these are the four main classes of wise men that he trusts has some degree of have some degree of credibility in the Babylonian court. And what does he ask them to do?
He wants them to know the dream and its interpretation. He asks for both.
And he keeps saying that throughout the first sequence of verses, that, no, I want you to tell me the dream. And his idea seems to be that if you can tell me the dream without me telling you the dream, then I'll know that I can trust your interpretation.
And then I'll know it's supernatural. Then I'll know it's really coming from the gods.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think about this in contrast to what you think about if you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness or a Jehovah's Witness. How do you evaluate the trustworthiness of God's organization?
Yeah.
Do they pass either of these tests? Those of us who have been disillusioned and fallen out of the Watchtower know that they don't pass test number 2. That is, their interpretations are not trustworthy.
Yeah.
But do we even ask them to pass test number 1? Nebuchadnezzar is throwing before them 2 tests. One is what we might call inspiration. Do you guys claim inspiration? Do you know what I got directly from God? That's the dream, right?
Yeah.
Some would call that revelation.
Yeah.
Do you claim revelation like I claim revelation? My problem is Nebuchadnezzar says, I don't know what it means.
And the Watchtower likes to say, well, we're not inspired, we're not prophets. So they don't want to really take that claim on, even though they call themselves a prophet class.
Prophet class.
They still will, every time you present that to them, they'll say, well, we're not prophets and we're not inspired. But they do want you to believe what they interpret.
So they want to be trusted for their interpretive abilities.
Yes.
So they want to do what the Magi do here, which is throw it back on Nebuchadnezzar. No, you tell us your dream, you tell us the revelation from God, and we
we'll
will
tell
interpret
what
it for
means. Yeah. So really, I would never have noticed that they're more like the Magi than they are Daniel
you. Yeah.
in the way they handle the situation.
So Nebuchadnezzar is very logical. He won't let them get away with this.
Yeah, and it's a reasonable demand. If you really do have secret knowledge from God, then he should easily be able to give you what he's given me. He gave me the dream, so why can't he give it to you?
So do we as Jehovah's Witnesses ever ask the Watchtower to pass test number 1? To claim revelation, inspiration from God? We don't.
No, we don't.
We assume that they're able to interpret the Bible properly.
Yeah.
But how can we test that? Nebuchadnezzar at least goes one step further and says, well, I don't know your ability to do that till I know your ability to do number 1.
Yeah.
Test number 1.
No, we talked about them having something like pre-tests.
Yeah.
He didn't call in all the people from his kingdom and give them this option, please tell me what I dreamed. And he's been very specific in who he's choosing.
Yeah.
He's picking the educated and the wise men, people who are known to be in the know.
We remember we did a video talking about Samuel and how was Samuel accredited as a prophet to Jehovah. It was because none of his prophecies fell to the earth, as it says.
Yeah, he had a track record.
Well, these are not prophets. They're not listed as prophets, but they are listed as wise men. So whatever credentials that meant in Babylon, we know why Daniel and the 3 youth are there, because they've passed the accreditation test already. Yeah. They have assimilated Babylonian wisdom, so they have got to level 1, as it were, in credibility.
Yeah.
But Nebuchadnezzar needs something more than natural wisdom now.
Yeah.
He needs more than educated men, which he's already the kind of people he's got around him. He needs people who have supernatural knowledge.
Yeah.
So in the next segment, we'll talk about how Nebuchadnezzar won't let this one go, and finally this point, this insistence that no, his wise men have to pass tests 1 and 2, and also, of course, have to pass test number 1, the pre-test, which is getting in the court to begin with, getting the invitation to be wise men before Nebuchadnezzar.
Right.
So number 1 and number 2, he won't let this go, this combination, and finally gets so enraged that he does something quite extreme. But then Daniel saves the day.
Right.
That's next segment.
Mm-hmm.